It doesn't take a genius to tell you that Manchester United need a midfielder, and it's probably the most important addition they could make in the January window. James Garner and Ruben Neves have been linked as maybe more realistic January targets, but David Ornstein has given an update on that. Joshua Zirkzee, it's very obvious his head was in Roma. Manchester United got a hard-fought 1-0 win over Newcastle. It wasn't a pretty performance, but one thing was, all those players were given and given and given. But one player just his head wasn't quite there, and that was Joshua Zirkzee. I think his head's in Roma. It looks like he's going to go to Roma after the players return from AFCON. But Roma have a player. Roma have a midfielder. Manchester United need a midfielder called Manu Kone. Manu Kone is an unbelievable midfielder, probably one of the only midfielders outside the Premier League that I trust to maybe be able to do it in Amorim's system for what I've seen. I remember his performance versus Tottenham last season. And he's been linked to Manchester United. He's a player that United have kept an eye on, and we've spoken about that. But apparently he's pretty much agreed to join Manchester United once the Manchester United move, and there could be some connection with Zirkzee to Roma and Kone going the other way. We're going to talk about that because I think it would be a fantastic move. We're going to talk about the latest on Mason Mount's injury, what has been said on that, will he be out for long? And Ornstein has spoken about United's Semenyo alternatives, and maybe we're going for a midfielder now. We're not getting Semenyo, not necessarily a direct Semenyo alternative, and some interesting updates. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. If you're new to the channel, every single day I do a video that is 10 minutes long, rounding up all the news into 10 minutes for you guys, surrounding United, telling you if it's reliable, telling you if it's unreliable, what's good, what's bad, what it means, how it links to other stories, and more. Let's dive into it. So David Ornstein was asked about midfield links. He said, "We've seen Ruben Neves and James Garner linked, but I'm not aware of anything concrete at that point." Now, what we know from Romano is that, nothing is concrete as well. We've had conversations with the people around Ruben Neves, but we've not had any conversations about Halal surrounding Ruben Neves. James Garner, according to Nathan Salt, was being watched and considered because he could be pretty cheap. We know Man United need to bring in 3 midfielders, basically. Because Ugarte is going to go, Casemiro could go. We've got Bruno and Maina, but we might move to midfield 3, so we're going to need more midfielders anyway. We know we need 3 midfield signings. One of that is going to be like a Norgard backup signing. When Arsenal signed Jorginho, Arsenal signed Norgard. And that could be James Garner. The other 2 are going to be big names. We're talking Baleba and some Morton, maybe Manu Kone, maybe Stiller. There's going to be 2 50 million plus midfielders, and there's going to be maybe 1 15 million midfielder. And I think United are thinking, well, if you can get James Garner for quite cheap, he could be the 3rd midfielder in the rebuild. Bada bing, bada boom. Do you know what I mean? But the players that we really want, Anderson, Morton, Baleba, they're not available in January. There's a feeling Baleba potentially could be if we pushed right enough of his poor performances. But one player that could be available in January is Manu Kone, but Roma won't want to sell because he's their best player. But if he pushes for the move, if they get Zirkzee in return, things could happen. So let's talk about Zirkzee to Roma and then the Manu Kone stories. Joshua Zirkzee is waiting to see whether Manchester United will sanction a loan to Roma. Talks between Zirkzee and Roma are advanced, but United haven't told the player or the Italian side if they will allow the exit in January. United are waiting to see what the injury front is with the likes of Mount, with the likes of Bruno, and also said players to return from AFCON, and if they can potentially bring in other targets. What we know is Roma have submitted a loan with an obligation to buy offer, and Zirkzee has pretty much agreed to join Roma, but he can't officially do anything until United approve the move. This was said by a very, very, very credible source in the Netherlands that AS Roma is making a serious push for Joshua Zirkzee. The forward is eager to join. An agreement of Roma is no longer an issue. Zirkzee believes that Gasperini can revive his World Cup chances. We know Zirkzee wants to go to Roma. Zirkzee was playing last night like he wanted to go for Roma. I like Zirkzee, but I think his career is probably better off in Italy. His head's in Roma. I think that move's going to happen. But could Manu Kone be going the other way? Now, we spoke about some links to Manu Kone last week. There was a couple of sources saying that, he's been scouted by Ineos, he's been watched by Ineos. Obviously, Ineos want more proven players. But this obviously came out yesterday, and I wanted to wait and get a bit more context and information on it to talk about it. Because they're basically saying, their rumour is he's basically wants to join Man United and has basically agreed to join Man United. And there could be some sort of deal with Zirkzee is kind of what they're suggesting. So this was said by Italian journalist Francesco Teodori on Manu Kone, who's apparently a broadcaster, and she said, "It's not news, but it's a fairly credible rumour. I've been told by multiple sources that Manu Kone is going to leave Roma and join Man United in June." Now, she says June. I want January. She says June. I don't know if it has anything to do with Joshua Zirkzee deal. He might have been included as some sort of counterpart. This remains to be seen. But what is certain is that Kone is very keen on the destination, and it looks like he could join United in June. So they're basically saying he's very keen to join United. Apparently, there's a rumour saying that he will leave and join Man United in June, basically saying he must have agreed to join United. Maybe as part of Zirkzee discussions, we've had conversations around Manu Kone. We need a midfielder. He very much fits the profile of midfielder we need. I wouldn't be shocked because there were links to Edison, but Edison isn't the profile of midfielder we need, whereas Manu Kone is. I wouldn't be shocked if in these conversations for Joshua Zirkzee, we start asking about Manu Kone, who is their best player, who they don't want to sell. So maybe they're like, in June, if you give us Zirkzee, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt for Kone. We know that Kone wants to come in June. Boom, I'd like Manu Kone in January, but maybe that gives us an advantage if we decide to go for him in June, because Roma will not want to sell him in January. He's their best and most important player. And a lot of people are saying, no, don't want Manu Kone, don't want Manu Kone. We need Prem proven, look what happens. But I think Manu Kone is one of those players that could do it in the Prem. Elliot Anderson is going to pick Manchester City unless we get Champions League football. Adam Morton will not pick us unless we get Champions League football. Baleba will pick us, but Baleba is been crap this season. He was very good for Cameroon the other night. Here's a tweet. Manu Kone has been absolutely sensational for Roma all season, but nobody's talking about him. 70 touches per game, 6 duels won per game, 65% dribble success rate, 5 recoveries per game, 93% pass accuracy. One of his best performances came against Tottenham in the Europa League against Premier League opposition. We lost out massively physically to Tottenham. That's why we lost them 4 times last season. That's why we lost the Europa League final to them last season. And I think Manu Kone would have been very good in that game. He's pretty decent on the ball, but it's off the ball. He has the athletic traits that we need. And I think he could partner someone like Kobbie Mainoo well. One thing I will say is in yesterday's game, in the first half, Amorim played a 4 at the back formation. In the second half, Amorim played at the 5 at the back formation. Versus Newcastle, we played so much better in the 4 at the back formation. And I think Amorim's starting to notice that we do play better in 4-back formation, but it still annoys me that we had a Europa League final to do a 4-at-the-back formation because we had no attacking threat. We never looked like we were going to score. And you wait until the last moments of the Europa League final to go to a back 4. It's like, cool, Amorim's starting to move towards a 4-at-the-back formation. He realises, and he submitted it in a press conference, that we look better in a 4-at-the-back formation, which means we'll probably need more midfielders because we'll have 3 in midfield. But we all knew this as a fan base, as analysts, months and months ago, that we just needed to change to a 4-at-the-back and we'd be better. And Amorim has finally agreed and noticed that we're better in a 4-at-the-back because we were versus Newcastle and we were versus Bournemouth. We played the first half versus Bournemouth in a 4-at-the-back. We went to a 5-at-the-back, conceded 2 goals, went back to a 4, scored 2 goals. Played 4-at-the-back first half versus Newcastle was much better than the second half, played 5-at-the-back. It's annoying that it's taken this long to go to a 4-at-the-back formation. That's the one thing I will say, but I think Manu Kone in a midfield 3 with Mainoo and Bruno would be beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I think if we do go to a 4-3-3, we're going to need potentially a left winger, and I think that's where Semenyo comes in. So what's David Ornstein had to say on that? On Manchester United's January transfer plans, with Semenyo, it was more of a market opportunity. They wanted to sign him rather than focusing immediately on that position. It doesn't mean they'd definitely go for an alternative for that wide attacking role now or in the summer, but I do think it's an agenda to fill at some point. I think with United slowly switching towards a back 4, I think United were looking at left wingers. Cunha would be more central. Sesko and Cunha would be the centre forwards. Amad and Bouma would be the right wingers. Mount isn't really a left winger. Him and Bruno are more the attacking midfielder behind the striker. We don't have that left wing profile to do that. We sold Garnacho, we sold Rashford. We don't actually have an out-and-out left winger at the club. And I think that's what Semenyo would have done. Maybe that's why we're looking at young Diamonde. I mean, the frustrating thing is Rashford would suit that role really well, but he doesn't want to be here and he's doing well at Barcelona. So maybe left wingers position we look at. My option would be Iliman Ndiaye. I think he's a very good dribbler. I know he's played on the right this season, but that's to accommodate Grealish. He's better on the left. I would go with Iliman Ndiaye as my option. But of course, the priority is Elliot Anderson. The priority is 2 elite midfielders. And then you look at left back. You look at maybe someone like Iliman Ndiaye for left wing, and you potentially look at centre back. But I have to say, Aiden Heaven was fantastic yesterday. I believe Yoro will be good. If Leach stays fit, is good. De Ligt is good. Maguire is good. I do think we have good centre-back options, but maybe depth. Ruben Amorim on Mason Mount. He said that Mount felt something in the first half. He wanted to play in the second half, but we can't lose more players. I have a feeling Mount came off as a precaution. Amorim was like, look, Bruno's out, Ahmad's out, Mazraoui's out, all the injuries, all the AFCON. I feel like he was like, if I play in the second half and you get injured, I can't start your next match. I think the reason for taking Mason Mount off was because he wants to make sure he can start versus Wolves on Tuesday, which kind of makes sense. So it's just a precaution because he's injury prone. Anyway, that is your news rounded up in 10 minutes. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.